your mind-blowing, thought-provoking, and eye-opening on-air personality, life coach, psychotherapist, author, and creator. Hope you guys having a swabblous day.
Yeah, and with that, let's commence to pay.
Okay, I'm so swavelous, you so swavelous.
Together we can fix the trauma that's befallen us.
Divine social interactions remains marvelous.
Mind-blowing, swavelicious talk, higher consciousness. But think, let not your hearts be troubled, Dr. Brother Suave.
Divine light give you double.
Greetings and suave evening. This is Dr. Brother Suave, your mind-blowing, thought-provoking, and eye-opening on-air personality, life coach, psychotherapist, author, creator, and divine social therapist, and your host of Social Therapy with Dr. Brother Suave. Yes, we're continuing Black Women's Dialogue Month. And, you know, I'm so excited, but I'm just going to tell you a little things, man. I am exhausted with all capital letters. I've been around this country for the past 10, about 12 days. I'm exhausted. I've been everywhere. I'm just getting back in about 3:30 this afternoon. Went and got a haircut, had to look all suave-tastic for tonight's broadcast. But I'm going to tell you, man, it's well worth it. And I'm excited about our very special guest tonight. You know, we promised to bring her back because when she was on last time, man, she set it off. We talked about my mantra, you know, doing everything from a social, spiritual, and clinical perspective. But we talked about the 3 cycles. And the 3 cycles are the clinical is that patterns of repetitions. The social is the insanity cycle. And the spiritual is generational curses. And man, we had such an amazing time. And we didn't, you know, normally when I prepare for an interview, I tend to have a bunch of questions, but the show was so amazing that we didn't even get a chance to answer or ask all the questions. So tonight I'm fulfilling my promise and she's coming on. And so just tell you a little bit, just to bring you up to date about my guest, Dr. Dwan Abrams. She's one of the great personalities. I love her. She's a great person. She's you can see her on TV One for My Man season 5, episode 15. She's a psychologist. She's on her life mission is to help people break through the barriers preventing them from living the life they desire. Throughout her career, she has helped clients effectively address and solve life's challenges through collaborative and personalization of training and coaching, and assisting them to reach their life short-term goals and long-term goals. I'm sorry, but listen, I'm excited. My voice is not the best, but listen, forget all that. What we're going to do, we're going to jump right into it. So without further ado, let's welcome the wonderful and talented and beautiful Dr. Dwan.
Thank you.
Got me all
excited. I'm always glad to see you. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me back. I really appreciate it.
Listen, you understand. I appreciate you because you're one of them ones who, you know, I have like, I think all my guests are amazing, but we tend to finish our shows. And we had a few that we just couldn't finish. And then the demand for wanting you to come back. And I'm happy that you was able to be available. And I'm so excited. So
thank you.
How was your day?
Oh, my goodness. It was good. I had a day of rest and relaxation. I didn't have to go into my spa or anything. So I'm just like winding down all the way right now. So it's just been a great day. So if I'm a little mellowed and chill, that's the reason. Got me a little cup of tea on the side and everything, and good to go. But it was a great day. Thank you.
So you're trying to start, because I just left Atlanta 4 o'clock this morning.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm tired as HE double hockey stick.
I know you are.
And so not only that, I got here at 3:30, and I'm like that OCD, so I just got to unpack. Tell me by the time I finish unpacking, I had a 5 o'clock appointment to get myself looking all suave-tastic.
Yes, and you did a good job with that.
And so that was all the way to 6 o'clock, and then I drove back home, and I tried to take like an hour nap, and so then I had to do some things. And so, but the bottom line is, again, I say on a previous show, when you're motivated about something, you love doing it, you find the energy to do it. You know, that's how people always say, you do what you want to do. You understand?
That's right. That's right.
And
that
so
is a true statement.
Yeah.
Yes.
So let's just go back on a few things. I remember we was talking about social media, how I remember some of the things you were saying about the things are just not realistic.
Right.
Again, we was talking about my mantra is everything from a social, spiritual, and clinical perspective.
Right.
And we was talking about again the patterns and repetitions, which is the clinical, the generational curses, which is the spiritual, and the
Mhm.
insanity cycles, which is the social. And
Right.
it was just so many things that we was learning, and you were just bringing a lot of insight. I'm going to try to review some of the things what we left off. I was just trying. Oh, and I also saw a little note that we had so many things in common. Our educational training, our
Yes.
military background. I'm like, wow, that was Suave.
Hmm.
So so before we get into that, just briefly tell the audience about you, because again, I did a little thing, but I would like them to hear you so we can bring them up to date of how we was doing the show previously.
Sure, no problem. Yes, as you stated, I've done episodes of For My Men as one of their commentators. I also am a published author of 9
Mhm.
books, and I do ghostwriting also for some other people as well. Let's see here. I currently own a spa called Lux
Yes,
Spa Michelle
congratulations.
in
I saw
Conyers,
that thing.
Georgia. Thank you, thank you. I'm so super excited about that. It's going well, and just I have a daughter that's a sophomore. Gee, she just got her sophomore year, a sophomore year in college,
Mhm.
and that is pretty much it.
So we have a Dwayne Linder. Okay, what is that first word? I see evening. What is that? Oh, well, hey, thank you, Dwayne. Suave evening to you. How you doing? So, yes, that's spa. I should have came there, but I was so busy. I found a nice place
I
downtown
know.
Atlanta, and
Yes,
I was again. I've been on this road, and so I was just
yes.
like glad I just came from. I did the Juneteenth event, and
Okay.
yes, I ran to Dr. Umar. What's it, F. Tunde? You know him at
Okay. Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
he's a
Uh-huh.
brilliant dude.
Yes.
Brilliant
My
dude.
daughter went to the Juneteenth
Yeah,
event.
but I'm gonna
Yes.
tell you, I don't know if I done got too spoiled, but I could not handle it. I'm like, listen,
That
I
heat.
got to go. I had to get it. I couldn't take it.
That
I'm
heat is
sorry.
no joke. It was like 99 degrees
Yes,
today.
and
So I don't
I
see it
think
getting better. It's crazy.
no, I think what got me was I had on sandals, and I never had my feet burnt like that. I'm like, I felt
Oh,
like
I
my
can
feet was in the oven. I'm
imagine.
serious. I never
Yes.
experienced anything. And I'm like, this what
Yes.
ladies go through. I think y'all go through a lot because I
That's
just
like the Vegas heat.
yeah. And I was like,
Yes. I
I
messed around and went to Vegas one year in July, and
what was
I
wrong
couldn't
with
even come
me?
outside in the daytime. When they say like frying like hot eggs on the sidewalk, it was
Yes,
that hot.
absolutely.
So we're there now.
Absolutely. And
Hmm.
I remember when we was talking, this Will Smith slap has still been talking about. I'm like, are they still talking about this?
Wow.
And I'm like,
Wow.
you
That's
know,
crazy.
it's crazy because
It's
that
impacting his
was
career for sure.
yes, but he's and I just saw I think what's it, Richard the King. I
Yes.
just saw half of it.
That
I
was a good
think
movie.
yes, I just stopped when the dude said, "You're the most stubborn person I ever met in my life." But that man
Mm,
had vision, and so, and I'm
he
trying to
really did.
strategically segue into when it comes to dynamics of relationships, and a lot of times when people haven't dealt with certain things, they don't
Hmm.
understand, and the humility sometimes is very difficult when you haven't had that. And so, this man
Hmm.
had vision, And one thing I
Right.
notice people who have vision, they're not always
Hmm.
the easiest to get along, but again,
Right.
that's why they are exceptions. And sometimes
Right.
when that person has vision, they know. I mean, yes, they critical, they hard, but anybody know about success? I don't know anybody on planet Earth has made the levels of success that's far above everybody else and didn't
Right.
work extremely hard. You got the Michael Jackson. These people are exceptional.
Yes.
Prince, the
Yes.
even
Michael
Mr. Jackson,
Jordan, Tiger
Michael Jordan.
Woods. Yes.
Yes,
Venus
Tiger
and
Woods.
Serena.
That leader
Yes.
put them in a position, and they worked them extremely
Absolutely.
hard
That
because
is
they
so
knew what
true.
they knew.
Yeah, they had these. I think all of them have fathers who really pushed them. When you
Yeah,
think about it, when they got thrust into the spotlight, their dad had played a pivotal role in it. So
yes, and making sure they was
essential in their
protected
success.
and not taken
Hmm.
advantage of. And we
Right.
don't know
Absolutely.
the music business. These people don't have, and they always complaining about how they got screwed over. But you look at these
Right.
people who, prime example, you even look at Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Yeah.
He's really the GOAT, but everybody say
Yeah.
right. This man had, Michael Jordan. They had their parents and that foundation that taught them a lot, and it
Right.
was very instrumental. And they learned hard work and how to be
Hmm.
successful. But a lot of
That
times,
is definitely true. There's a headline that just came. There was a news story I was watching, and I have to share this with you because it blew my mind. I couldn't believe this was real life. I literally could not believe that this actually happened. So when I tell you this, help me understand how this even could have even gone any other kind of way. So I was watching this like news segment about this lady who had been married to a guy for a long time, but the guy was her stepfather. He used to be married to her mother. He was 20 years her senior. They got married and had two children together. And I think they were married for like 14 years or something like that. And her husband got upset with her because he checked her phone and saw like some flirty text messages. So they got into an argument. And according to her, he like pushed her and pinned her up against like the countertop or something like that, and she grabbed a knife because she feared for her life. And then she ran into the bathroom. Like he somehow got the knife out of her hand, allegedly. She ran into the bathroom, and when she came out, he was bloodied and on the floor. So she did not call 911 or anything right away. What she did was she said she tried to get perform CPR on him, but then she fell asleep. So yeah, fell asleep. So like something like 11 hours had gone by, and she went on a dating app and to see if anybody, if she could meet anyone or do whatever. And then she called 911 and told 911 that her husband either had a heart attack or killed himself or something like that, but not that he had been stabbed and had bled to death. So she told police that it was self defense. And do you know that this woman got off? But of course, she's of a different persuasion. But nonetheless, I've never heard of anything so crazy and outlandish ever. And it still doesn't make sense to me. 11 hours before she even called 911. And yet this lady was found not guilty. So this is like wrong on so many levels. The fact that he was married to her mother, the I mean, it that right there starts the whole thing. So what are your thoughts? How is this even possible? How could, based on everything, all of that they said, how could this woman have been found not guilty because of self-defense? I don't get it.
Oh, well, my opinion, that is always a way to justify, and they could say things just like saying Santa Claus exists when you don't. And we didn't see many times when people have their hands up and all they saying is, I don't have anything on me and I'm doing, you see my hands, here's my palms. And they said,
Right.
get on the ground. He said, I can, but I have my back. I can't get down. And then next thing
Yeah.
you know, they're 30 feet away and they empty all the bullets on this person. And then they say they
Right.
fear for their life. They can say anything. So
Right. That
it
is
doesn't
true.
surprise me, and nothing is surprising. I mean, you see person. Remember the knee of the person was on the brother's
Oh
throat.
gosh, yes,
I
yes.
mean,
That was terrible.
and everybody's standing
Right.
around, and
Shouting
everyone
and
sees
screaming
it
like, yeah,
again, and then they
exactly.
get away. It's just so many different scenarios. You
Hmm.
know, I mean, I saw a thing where an old lady got shot, and she's like 85 years old.
Oh
So it's
gosh.
always
Yes.
um, so nothing really surprises me, when it comes to that, because they're going to protect
Yeah.
their own. And that's the thing we have to sometimes do, be mindful of those things. And I
Yes.
think when we start having better human beings on this planet,
Right.
um, we won't have these situations. And also, sometimes they need to do. Well, I don't think they're interested in having better hiring practices, because all this is fulfilling their agenda.
Got you.
So
I
they're going to
got you.
always protect their own. So
Yeah.
nothing surprises me. You're
Yeah.
talking about shooting someone and killing someone in cold blood and don't go on
Right.
leave. You back.
Wow.
So
Yeah. So why should we be surprised by this?
yes,
Yeah. And especially when I thought to wait 11 hours to even call
Yeah.
about your spouse, and then to say you were doing CPR and fell asleep. Like
Yes.
all
I
of
mean,
this made
it's
no, and then went on a dating app before
yeah.
you
That's
called 911. And I'm just like, what?
well. There was a story similar to that, but more you're able to justify it. This lady, this sister, she hit this white dude on the road, and he went through her windshield about 20 years ago, and she panicked,
Mm.
and for 11
And did she
hours,
drive with him or
yes,
something
and
with him
she
in the
was in the
windshield
garage,
and took her?
and then when she
Yes, I
came
did
to,
hear that.
yeah, she
I remember
came
that
to,
story.
and then she called the police and explained them to
Right.
what happened, and they said, "Why did you wait 11 hours or something?" She says, "I was in shock. I'm a nurse. I was in shock."
Wow.
She said, and I came to say I didn't try to run. I'm calling you, and she got
Wow.
convicted just like that.
See,
It wasn't no
yeah,
long liberation or anything.
exactly. Exactly.
So it's like,
Yeah, I do remember that. I do remember
yes,
that story.
we
But
went
this
to the police. She
lady,
did how, and
yeah.
she told the truth. She said, "I did.
Hmm.
Yes, I went in shock. I didn't run. I
Right.
didn't do anything. You could check the phone work. She didn't try to avoid.
Hmm.
She didn't try to conspire. She panicked and she was in shock. And when she came
Right.
to, she called the authorities.
Wow.
You know,
Yeah, I do remember that. So, I mean, that it's interesting how, stuff turns out so different for certain groups
absolutely.
of people, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah, it's very unfair, totally biased, but
That's why
yeah,
nothing surprises me at all.
right. Thanks for sharing that because I do remember that. That was a
Yes,
big, big story.
yeah. And she didn't have all that fluff like the other person had.
Right. You know. And I think that what really stands out to me is lying to the 911 operator to make it seem like the person had a heart attack when clearly they've been stabbed numerous times and bled, and you're just like,
Yes, but
does that how does the rational brain
no,
make
no,
sense
it's
of
not
such a
about that.
situation?
But you ever hear this say, this didn't happen? How many times you say you didn't see that? This didn't happen. Okay. So it's not about the facts, it's about whatever story they can fabricate. Just
Touche.
like just like history, taking
Touche.
credit. Um, I know this new movie Elvis coming out. It's probably gonna be a lot of stuff we're gonna learn.
Yes, I saw the previews for that, so that should be interesting. If they
Yes,
keep it 100, it should be
yes. I
interesting.
mean,
Mm.
a prime example was a Little Richard, always talking about shut up. They stole. I was, they
Yep.
stole my stuff. I mean,
Yep.
these things are happening. That's why I think one of the things we have to continue to support our own, and
Hmm.
not and being pro doesn't mean anti. You know,
Exactly.
you
Yeah, that
know,
was a good way to say that.
you
Yeah,
know.
because that was the argument for the Black Lives Matter movement. Are you saying all lives don't matter? Just Black lives is like, no,
Um,
no. All lives matter. It's just the Black lives clearly haven't mattered enough because we're getting killed at disproportionate rates and things of this nature. So all we're saying is take notice and don't treat us special. Just treat us fair. Just treat us like you would treat anybody else. Treat us
mhm.
equally. You
Yeah,
know. Yeah, that's it.
yeah,
Not two justice systems in the United States or anything like that. Just one justice system, and not a rich people, poor people justice system, not a black people, white people justice system, just
yes,
a fair justice system
yeah,
for people.
absolutely. And I think some of
Yes.
the things that people forget is that this fixation on the blind, what do you call it, the blind law of the law.
Oh, yes.
You remember
Yes.
that
I know.
thing back
Yes.
about 20 years ago? They had her looking up,
Right.
you know,
Yep, because it was
seeing who
exactly
saw
because it
ghosts.
was used to have the blinders right here.
Yes,
So the lady of justice was supposed to be impartial and didn't
yes,
see,
absolutely.
yeah,
And we
exactly, just
all seen
heard.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think these are dialogues that sometimes are uncomfortable for others. And
Hmm.
and and because we advocate for ourselves, they think that we're anti. But I guess America doesn't realize had we not advocated for ourselves, we wouldn't have all our laws in terms of the amendments of previous laws and giving us the rights
Right.
that we are entitled to. Because one of the things that
Exactly.
a friend of mine got mad at me because I was never forced to say, I don't know which one is which, but the national anthem and the Pledge of Allegiance. And
Yeah.
so, and it was like, no, you can't make me say it because I wait. This one of them says, "And liberty and justice for all."
Right.
I,
Right.
I don't know which one is which,
Let's see. I have to think about that. I pledge allegiance to the
but I
flag,
know
so
it
I think
closes out with that. And
with
but
liberty. That's the Pledge of Allegiance.
okay, and so, and
Mm-hmm.
again, when people say, I'm like, no, you can't tell me I don't believe in fairness. You can't tell me because one thing about it, I know there's a lot of people who have something to say. They
Mm-hmm.
can't sit there and say they went and fought. And so when they say, I said, me, I'm
Mm.
just looking at my case. I got a
Right.
permanent scar on me. I said, I
Mm-hmm.
had fought for the community, for our
Mm-hmm.
kids, for our rights, and for our liberties,
Yes.
through teaching, counseling,
Right.
mentoring, and in
Right.
combat. Not just a war
Wow.
veteran. I mean, not just a veteran,
Yes.
but a war veteran. So don't tell
Right.
me I don't have the right to
Yes.
express what I
Yes.
see that are injustices or flaws in our
Mm-hmm.
system. Now,
Absolutely.
our country has many different benefits in comparison to others,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like a relationship. You can be married and you still gonna have some ups and downs. You're gonna have some agreements,
Right.
you're gonna have some disagreements. So my
Mm-hmm.
relationship with the country doesn't mean I don't love the
Mm-hmm.
country. It's just I see some of the flaws that I have to address, and I know they don't have to exist.
Absolutely. Let me ask you this question. Is there another country that you can think of that categorizes its citizens by color?
Um, another country.
Mm-hmm.
I could tell you. I think all of them do. They just come here and tell a different story.
Mm. So you think
Because
that
reason I say that,
Germans will say I'm a black German or I'm a Jewish
yes,
German or I'm
that,
like that?
yes, and so I grew up in Miami, Florida. You
Mm-hmm.
understand? So we have a huge population of our Cuban brothers and sisters. So you
Definitely.
guys, the rest of America, always seen like when they say, "Man, all the Cubans come there and they all white." You understand?
Mm.
But you visit, you see, it's about seven. You see, it's a huge population of black people.
Yes. Yes,
But
I
you
used to
see,
work for the phone company years back, and when we would do the directories, we had to have it was the thickest directory in Miami because it was bilingual. We didn't
mhm,
get to just every other directory was printed in English, but in Miami we had to have it in both languages.
yes. And
Yeah.
so a lot of times you would hear one story saying this, but then the other one's like, I'm not having no problems. But then when you see the ones come, you're like, hey, the story is conflict in this. And I'm not going to say anybody's lying. They just not
Hmm.
matching up. You understand? So
Got you.
obviously, it's some issues of color there. And then when you hear, it's a different story. So I
Got
can't
you.
say, and I'm not going to be the one to say if the story is true,
Right.
because again, people are people, but I do understand that people may pretend that they don't see race. I see it because I'm not
Yes.
blind, and
No, I
as
definitely got
colorblind,
you on that. What I was thinking, where I was going with this was not that you shouldn't see color because that's ridiculous. We of course know if we see another black person, another white person, or whatever, we know that part. But in the terms of us being United States citizens, I don't think we need to be divided in that way. I think we just need to be a U.S. citizen. If you were born here, if you were raised here, you're just a U.S. citizen and that you're just a human being. That's what I think it should be because when we start divvying the people up, we start going into the minorities and this and there's more things that separate us. We have enough things to separate us. Money separates us. That's a big thing right there. So
mhm,
classism, I would rather classism exist than to have the racism exist. And
yeah,
the reason why I say that is because the situations can change when it involves money. People can not have money today and have money tomorrow. People can have money today and or not have money today and have plenty of money tomorrow. We've seen it happen. Just because you were born a certain way doesn't mean that's how you will spend the rest of your life. There are plenty of people who have experienced being rich, but also know what it feels like to be poor and vice versa. So that's why I say with the classism thing, because that can flip flop, that can change. People can change their economic situation. But as far as if you're a US citizen, I don't think that it needs to be looked at like it, because then you start thinking if someone's from Asia, or let's just say it's an Asian American, right? But they were born here, raised here, speak English like everyone else, and don't and haven't even been out of the United States to even visit Asia, right?
Mhm.
So then we're calling them an Asian American, but this person is like, I'm just an American. I'm here just like you. So Black people that are born and raised here, we should have all the same rights and privileges because we're not a partial human being. We're not lesser than, we are a human being. And as long as we keep having these labels that are on us, then it separates us. It just keeps separating us. If
Mhm.
a white person says that they're an American, nobody questions it or blinks. It's like they're just an
Mhm.
American. But a Black person says they're an American, now you got to be a Black American or an African American, all this other kind of stuff. But if somebody is just identifying as white, it does not matter whether their ancestors are from Poland or, any other European place or
Mhm.
anything. But here in America, they are still Americans. And that's what I mean, that I think that we should do things that way, because I
Well,
haven't heard a French person,
no French.
say, I'm a Black Frenchman, or I'm a white Frenchman, or I'm a whatever Frenchman. It's like I'm French, or
Yes.
I'm German, or I'm from Sweden, or I'm from Japan, or China, or whatever. Does that make sense?
No, I definitely see because I've heard a person with a strong accent. He said, "I'm an
Hmm.
American. I'm an American citizen."
Hmm.
You know.
Exactly. Like, if you're born and raised here, it is what it is.
Well, the unfortunate thing is another part. It is what it is, and we don't have enough responsible and diverse leaders. So to make those things,
Mm,
because the reality is,
right.
it's idealistic. That the way is idealistic, but
Yeah.
we're dealing with the reality is that
Right.
people are trying to identify with their cultures, their race, or their
Mhm.
ethnicity for the purpose of
Mhm.
identifying and keeping those values. Like remember I had said ethnicity and then race. So a lot of times these cultures and foods they're able to identify because what happens is, let's say you say I'm gonna go to an American restaurant.
Mhm. What does that mean?
Yeah,
Burgers and some
yeah,
fries. That's the
exactly.
American
But now
restaurant,
if you
right?
slave everybody, this is how you identify. So if I go to a African American restaurant, Jamaican American
Mhm.
restaurant, or so these are the things in terms of classification to help people identify and have these respected groups. Is that cultures and subcultures? You
See,
know.
and think about this too. If we're supposed to be African Americans, descendants of our ancestors who came over on the slave ship from Africa, if that is what it is, we still don't even know our culture, because
No.
when we go to a Black restaurant, we're thinking about soul food. And I can assure you that the Africans weren't over there frying chicken and getting collard greens and macaroni and cheese. That's a Southern cuisine that we put as soul food and just made it what it
Absolutely.
is. But it's not, we don't even eat African food. We
But
wouldn't even
that's
know where to start to prepare it or anything else.
but see
So
that's
we
the
really
thing.
don't even have our culture.
But see, we're a manufactured culture.
There we go. That's
So
exactly it. We
therefore,
don't even know our real last names. We didn't come from being, Johnsons and Jacksons and all this other kind of stuff that are just a Smith and all this. We didn't come from that. We don't know. We don't even know where our lineage is. Like, what tribe were our people in Africa?
yeah.
What is our real culture? So since that was taken from us and robbed from us, and we don't know what it is, then the least we could do is just get called, okay, well, you're an American citizen then, because at least if somebody is Asian, their parents or their grandparents
Hmm.
have been over there, come from there, and that's why they can go and have their family traditions with their religion, with their cultures, with their
Hmm.
food. Same thing. I mean, so with other places, like if they're Jewish, they have a tradition. Like they're just like, okay, we have this. This is our things that we do, even when they get married at a wedding. But as Black people, we're not. Everybody's not jumping the broom and doing all this other stuff that our ancestors, we heard that they did or whatever. We don't adopt a lot of the culture because we didn't grow up with it. We didn't
Yeah.
have a grandmother or a grandfather to say, hey, I came straight from Africa and I'm over here doing this and this is what it is. We didn't have it because our mother, our father, our grandparents, they were raised right here in the United States of America too.
Yeah.
You
But see,
know,
that's the
so
thing.
yeah.
The only group was manufactured, and this is what I'm saying, was the African American. So that's
Hmm.
why it's when you say African American,
Yes.
our manufactured are us being manufactured. That's why we have the soul food. Now you got to understand,
Right.
black, because you have our brothers and sisters from Haiti, they use
Hmm.
their cultures.
Yes.
You got people from
Exactly.
Panama,
Jamaica, they have
but,
pride,
but
they
again,
have their culture.
yeah, but they again, the rest of the world
Hmm.
have one title. Like for example, when they come from over there, they say I'm from Jamaica. Now you got white
That's right.
Jamaicans, and so they come together,
Hmm.
no matter if you
Yep.
black or white, and especially
That's
the
right. You're
Chinese.
just Jamaican. Exactly.
Yes, but
Hmm.
also it's is similar to the because remember now a Jamaican that's Chinese,
Right.
he may say he's Jamaican, but he's still going to
Right.
identify with China. It's
Right.
just
I
a
got you on
smaller
that.
scale. You
Yeah.
understand? It's just that remember,
Hmm.
this is the country out of the whole world has more diversity than anybody. That's why
Right.
there's Mother Liberty, so everybody come here, but they come with their
Yeah.
own
Melting
culture, their
pot.
norms, and that's
Right.
why they put their. So what happened is, you remember, the two people was manufactured
Hmm.
was the whites from Europe
Hmm.
who just say they're American. Then you have
Right.
the blacks who was manufactured brought here, and then they say
Hmm.
they are everything because it was colored, Negro,
Right. Yep.
Afro.
Hmm.
Now it's
Afro
African.
American, African
Yeah. So
American.
and it was
Yeah.
always something. And over the years, when they was labeling us, then we tried
Hmm.
to label to identify with the motherland, only because the motherland again is so
Hmm.
diverse. And so instead of just trying to say, well, I'm Nigerian American, they was
Right.
like, they didn't know directly what their roots were. They would say
Right.
African American. And
Right.
remember, these are the things that we came together as some of our representatives and chose that.
Right.
Because remember, the blacks itself from America, I mean, who was manufactured, was
Hmm.
like, I like Afro. And some people say
Right.
African. And then people say, I'm not from
Right.
Africa. And so
Right.
whoever
Yeah.
voted, it was like
Hmm.
the majority won. So there we had a new
Right.
title. You understand?
Yeah.
It
That's
is what it
true.
is. And I
Yeah.
just believe it's important for me, like you said, we all call Americans, but we couldn't do
Hmm.
that only because if the food. You want Chinese food, you want Jamaican
Right.
food. Like I
Yeah.
just had me some Nigerian food the other day. I had me some
Hmm.
fufu and some Nigerian stew. It was so good. Oh my God.
See, exactly. And I have a great aunt who literally is from Africa.
Mm-hmm.
She's married to my grandmother's brother.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the closest to African culture that I've ever experienced. And I love her and she's amazing. But we learned so much just from her, like, because she was from there. Like, she literally lived in Africa and moved here to the United States. And her parents were from Africa and moved to the United States, like from like a terrible situation where there was like some kind of war or something that was going on over there, and they were fear of being killed. So she got her mother and father out of there to save their lives.
Yes.
But her parents were in Africa, and so I say all that to say that a lot of us don't have that though. We don't have that in our direct. She married into my family. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So that's how we were by that association. But it's really a lot. The things
Yeah.
that bother me because I think that United States is. I wouldn't want to live anywhere else. It's an amazing. Well, I'm not gonna say that. I've entertained Canada, but you know what I'm saying, or
Yes. I
something
definitely.
fun like that. But in general, I am, I served in the Air Force. I came from a military family, so I have deep loyalties and love for the United States of America. I'm a patriotic person. My issue is how the country doesn't love us as a race of people and the way we get treated. It doesn't make sense to me why we should still have to fight for voting rights. We're citizens. Why don't we just have all the rights because we were born here? We shouldn't have to fight for anything. It's our birthright. It should just innately be given to us because we're from here. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, but
Why
again,
does it need to be an issue?
well, again, Dr. Claude Anderson said it is important that those of us that are descendants of slaves identify as Native Black Americans. Great
Mm,
point. Since our ties to African nations have been so severed so complete.
mm-hmm,
And so that's a
mm-hmm.
great point, Facebook user, because
That
again,
was.
yes, and this is what I'm
Yes.
saying. We're manufactured, so we have our connections to
Right.
our motherland. We just can't connect it, so we have to identify it, and this is
Right.
important, because
Right.
again, um, we want to identify, and we have a unique culture. As much as we
Right.
don't identify with our exact tribe, so to speak,
Right.
the manufactured culture
Mm-hmm.
that's different from any on this planet was
Mm-hmm.
African American. And when he was
Yeah.
saying Native African American, it's something that you trying to say. So again, we
Mm-hmm.
identify with our culture. So
Mm-hmm.
again, that will be another name added, because you remember how you saying, well, we should be called Americans. So I have
Right.
to agree with the Facebook Native African American, because
Yeah.
we're natives, we was from here, but we are
That's
still
right.
identifying with our culture, because at the end of the day,
Right.
our culture as Native African Americans, I'm gonna start using that,
Mm-hmm.
is
Yeah,
different
I think that's
from,
a great one.
yes, it's different from the Jamaican culture and the foods. It's different
Right.
from the Haitian brothers and food, the Panamanians. It's different from
Yes.
the Cuban, the Black
Right.
Cubans. So it's
Mm-hmm.
our own unique taste. Remember, hip hop was created by us.
That's right. That's
It's
right. You are
worldwide now.
absolutely
You
right
know what I'm
about
saying?
that. Yes.
That's not something
Yes.
that was from Africa
So was rock
or
and
Europe,
roll.
anything. Yeah, so, we create these
Mm-hmm.
things. So it was
Exactly.
that
Yes.
uniqueness that we have,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Right.
And so, oh my God, we went. Listen, right now we're just gonna go into a quick station identification. We'll come back. It says grand evening, King, brother King, Suave, and Dr. Dwan. Hey, listen, we're just gonna go into a quick station identification, and we'll be right back.
Programs like this are made possible by Neighborhood Planet Broadcasting Systems, Neighborhood Planet Network, iBlister Digital Media Creative, and from contributions to NPNTv from viewers like you. Thank you. Tune in and stream live now. Social Therapy with Dr. Brother Suave, the podcast, is now being broadcast on NPN Voice. NPN Voice can be found on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, SoundCloud, and now on Audible and Amazon Music, and anywhere you listen to your favorite podcast. Social Therapy with Dr. Brother Suave, the podcast, now on NPN Voice. NPN Voice. Got voice. You heard?
What's up, everyone? I'm Brandy the Disconnector, wife, show host, entrepreneur, investor, and ICS certified life coach, here to tell you that I'm on NPNTv, the network that is by us and for us. Lock in and let's get it.
Hello, my name is Goma Marie Conde. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist and a certified trauma counselor, and I am on NPN TV.
Greetings, this is Dr. Brother Suave with our special guest, Dr. Dwan. We didn't diversify this conversation, man. I like it. You know, it was some things that I wanted to talk about. I like the idea, and I can't get that out of my head. Native African Americans, I love it.
Yes.
That should go back to the drawing board and use that, because
I'm
again,
in agreement. Yes,
you know,
absolutely.
because
Yes.
we have the indigenous people. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they are the indigenous people that was here for anybody else.
Yes.
And I know one group that refused to be labeled, and that is our Chicanos. You call them
Mm.
Mexican American, like, no, I'm a Chicano. They not gonna let
Yes.
you label them as a
Yes.
Mexican or
Wow.
a Chicano.
That was good. That was good. That's a good example. Yeah.
Yeah, and I always
Right.
respected that, because
Mm-hmm.
again, our Mexicans, when you look at the history, you know, we have some Black Mexicans,
Mm-hmm.
and also they have ties with our indigenous people.
Right.
You see like in Texas, the Indians,
Absolutely.
yeah, and
Yes.
so they took charge. They strong. They're not gonna, no matter where you at in this country, you're gonna see the population of Mexicans. They're gonna be under the
Mm-hmm.
radar, but they
Mm-hmm.
and what I do can look at them. They're building
Mm-hmm.
our houses, a
Mm-hmm.
country, the story that we had.
Mm-hmm.
You know how you had your grandfather. So I built that building right there, because blacks
Yeah.
was. I remember using that. My business, I could cut all the grass. I had
Mm-hmm.
it with pride, you know. And I think
Wow.
that's one thing,
That's a
as
true statement. Yes.
and I think that we can do those things. And I think
Mm-hmm.
sometimes when people are getting past, and I'm not sitting there saying you don't grow. I just know that you have to be mindful of what money is and what is power and what is control. And so
Absolutely.
they're making the money, they took the power, and they took control of their
Mm-hmm.
lives and own destiny, with or without citizenship. You
Yes.
know, and I think we have to start being mindful, because I'm like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm making a connection with the Native African American. We
Mm-hmm.
can label our own self. We don't have
Yes.
to.
That was a good point. I
Yes.
remember one of my friends years back when I was in the Air Force, and she was from America, but her parents were Mexican, and
Mhm.
she would say, I never heard her say I'm a Mexican American or anything. She always just said I'm Mexican.
That's
Period.
what I'm saying. Everybody
Like
else say
that
that.
was it. Yes,
You
that's it.
know.
She was happy to be Mexican. She was like,
Yeah.
I'm Mexican. No, I'm not Latina. I'm not nothing that, straight Mexican. I never
And
forgot that.
yeah,
Hmm.
and when we, like I said, we the only group that's struggling with these, trying to
Yep.
identify, make a connection. But other people, they
Right.
like, hey, listen, like you have some brothers and sisters who from Nigeria, and they come here,
Right.
they'll say, I'm from Nigeria, citizenship or not. And their children
Hmm.
born here, they say, I'm Nigerian.
Hmm.
Or they'll
That
say,
is
my
true.
parents are Nigerian. I was raised
Right.
here. But
That's right.
the
But
point
either
is,
way, there's that connection.
yeah, they're like, hey, I'm Nigerian. My
Hmm.
parents are Nigerian. I'm Nigerian.
Yes.
I was born here,
Yes.
but I'm
Absolutely.
Nigerian. And so,
Yeah.
again, other people don't necessarily have the struggles we have. And that's why I say we are
Hmm.
unique as we are.
Right. Yes. Yes.
And,
That
and
was
so
good.
I had a question I wanted to ask you. And
Sure.
this was regarding to there was this TikTok,
Okay.
and a young lady said she thinks she's going to be single for the rest of her life, and she said her reasons why. And so she was saying that because I'm not going to do it. She said, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I am not going to be raising a grown boy. I'm not going to be
Mm.
picking up behind. I'm not going to be his mother. I'm not going to be doing this. I'm not going to cook. I'm not going to do this. And so many people took it the wrong way, and then they tried to say, well, she should be servant to him. And I remember
Mm.
I'm watching how people respond negatively. But what
Mhm.
happens is so many people are damaged and hurt, they sometimes project their stuff. And so when someone say that, they thinking their interpretation is the same. Thank you, Brother Wally. That's my mentor. He said great conversations on cultural relations. Man, let me tell you, that brother's
Mhm.
brilliant. He taught me a
Mhm.
lot. He's
Yes.
always giving me words of encouragement, teaching me certain things about putting little bullet points so I don't have to read certain
Mhm.
things, man. He's always giving me a little thing. So thank you. A special shout out to Brother Wally. But anyway, and sometimes people get that because their relationships are damaged and they've been through something, they've been taken advantage. Sometimes people can make a stand. And one of the things that I in chapter 5 of my book, I was talking about let me see if I can find it. But in chapter 5, it was talking about sometimes when you're lonely, it's the LLFRH process. It's an acronym that I made up. So when you're lonely, sometimes you lack the patience and you make a lame decision. That's the second F. And then what happens is making a wrong decision with somebody, it tends to frustrate you, and you get pissed off.
Right.
And then next thing you know, you build resentment for that person. And then once you build resentment for that person, you begin to hate them. You get it? And sometimes you can take ownership, and then at this point, you're no longer taking this babying people. And so sometimes people take that and say, well, and they say, I'm not going to do it anymore. And so people are so used to being catered to, and these people are just making a stand. And so when I talk about, because in the previous relationships, like in chapter 8, it's the intimacy of the balance of intimacy. And so what happens is in turn, you avoiding getting frustrated, you create a balance in the dynamic of those relationships. And so it has, you cook, I clean, you wash, I dry, you cut, I trim, you set the table, I set the food.
Got you.
And so this is the thing we have to be mindful of. And so when people was talking about negative, I'll support her because she realized, she's saying, no, I'm not going to get married if I don't have balance, because I'm not going to be cooking. I'm not going to be picking up shoes, and so people seeing her as defiant. But sometimes you have to really make a stand, and you can't be raising grown folks. You understand?
I totally understand where you're coming from, and I understand what she intended. But I'm going to give you another different side of food for thought on this one.
Okay.
This reminds me of a book I read years ago called What You Say Is What You Get. And I remember in that book, it taught us how words have power. That's even biblical, that your words have power. But also one thing that it taught me was that the word not, the universe does not recognize the word not. So when you say, I'm not going to get this, what you're saying is just remove the word not and just say, that's what you're getting. So if you say, I'm not going to raise a grown man, you're going to get a lot of boys, because then you're going to have to keep raising these boys until you take the word not out of your vocabulary. So whatever you say with passion, and I can give quite a few examples of how this happened in my life that I've actually witnessed and experienced. I remember once I was at my stepfather and I would go play bingo on the military base, and we were playing bingo, and he kept losing. He lost like about 3 hands in a row, and he touched his card and he said, I'm winning this next hand. He said it with so much conviction and seriousness, and he won the next hand, and I was blown away. I was like, wait, what? He literally hollered bingo on the next one. So his words had power because he put intention behind them, and he was very serious. He didn't think about it. He was like, hey, I'm frustrated. I'm about to win this, right?
Yeah.
And so his energy went toward a won. Another example, I was a college instructor, and I went to our Christmas party, and I really wanted the iPad that they were auctioning. And I remember that I did not care about any other door prize raffles that they were having. All I wanted was the iPad. So I was sitting back. So all of a sudden, they raffle a car wash. I said, that's the last thing I need. I don't need a car wash. Who won the car wash? So my point is that our words, all they know is the energy that we put behind them and the emphasis that we put behind them. So whatever our intention is when we're speaking on something, either we really mean it or we're just being sarcastic or facetious or whatever. But if we say something with the energy and the passion, that's what we get. So rather than focusing on what we don't want, we always have to be mindful to focus on what we do want. So instead of putting all the energy toward, I'm not raising some grown man, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. Don't stop saying what you're not going to settle for or what you're not going to do, and instead focus on what you actually want. Because when you put your energy toward what you don't want, you get more of what you don't want. Well, so that's what I would say.
I definitely understand those laws of attraction. And I think for me, as anybody know, I'm always talking about the balance.
Yes, but you do have to have balance in
life. Because what happens is, the reason I say, and that's why I talk about the 3 things: social, spiritual, and clinical, because words have meaning, but certain things go way beyond our understanding. Because, for example, I know people as Christians, myself, but I also understand balance because you can believe in all your heart, and you can say God's gonna give me a heart desire, and your heart desire is that your baby don't die, and you can say that with all conviction in the world. But that don't mean your heart desire you're gonna receive.
Absolutely, because
What
then it's
happens
not even about your will at that point. It's not even
Yes,
about
exactly. That's what I'm saying. Certain
yeah.
things go way beyond
Other things are
our
in the
understanding,
work.
whether conviction or not. You understand?
Definitely,
And
yes,
so that's why I would say faith without works is dead. But you can
yeah,
believe all you want because I can tell you this. I could tell you this. I said I can tell you this. My mom lost two. So I lost one sibling on this side of me and one sibling on this side of me, and both of them was one was 3 days and one was 3 years. And I
oh
know
wow,
my mom was like, God, please, whatever.
sure, trying to plead,
And I
right, to
know
save them.
the second time she said, oh my God, don't let this happen again. I do it. You understand? So certain
Yeah,
things go
that's
way
tragic.
beyond our understanding. But
Right,
I definitely believe
absolutely.
in that point of the laws of attraction, saying what you want, because I often say I can is easier to say than I can't.
That's right.
And so
Absolutely.
therefore you use the energy to say, hey,
Yep.
this is going to happen for me versus
Right.
saying this is not going to happen for me.
Exactly. Just focus on what you want more than what you don't want.
Exactly. You don't even,
That's the main thing.
yeah. You can have, remember, you can have all
Yeah.
these thoughts in your head, but long
Right.
as they don't come out your mouth.
There you go. You nailed
Because
it.
see,
That's it.
we don't
Yes.
control our thoughts, but we control what
Yep.
comes out our mouth. I could sit there
Absolutely.
and think, there you go. I could sit there and think I'm going to do something, but I can redirect that thought.
Yes.
I can't control that thought, but I can redirect that thought. But I can
That's
always
right.
control what come out my mouth.
Absolutely. Yes.
So those are the
You are
things.
so right about that. And I think that it's really interesting that you talked about this young lady on this side of the spectrum, because on the other side, I had just seen a TikTok video where it was like this lady was talking about her husband is the king. When he comes in, he makes the decisions, and that he's in control, of the house, of her, things of this nature. And people were bashing her. And then some people were like, no, that's right. That's the way it's supposed to be. Your husband's the king, and it's supposed to be this. And she didn't say it in a way like she didn't have a mind of her own or anything like that. What she was trying to say was that because of her having respect for him and trusting his judgment and knowing the type of person he is, that even if they needed to come into an agreement on something, he would get the ultimate say so if they could not agree together. So she agreed to defer to her husband in instances like that. And, I totally understood where that was coming from, because in a relationship, it's something, a lot of times you will agree, but then you're going to have those moments where it's like, I feel like this, but if you don't agree or whatever, I'll leave the ultimate up to you, but give your input on something.
Yes.
And that's okay.
And that's what King Richard's wife say.
Yeah, absolutely.
But one of the things about hurt people, or like on my 2 weeks ago, I did a show called Relationship Resume Unequally Yoked. We have so many people, and I define relationship resumes. I'm always creating something in my Suave philosophy. And so what happens is people don't identify with stuff, so they're pessimistic about things. So what happens is when you're in a healthy, functional relationship, you understand order. Because one thing about when things go left, all these people, personal values, Christian values, spiritual values, go right out the door when conflict happens. And so I posted something a couple of days ago. I said when a person can only pretend for so long, then the real one comes out. Just like having that bing hair color, after 3 weeks, that gray hair shows up and show out. You understand? So these people, they try their perception of what a helpmate is, their perception of what a husband is, their perception of what a wife is just their perception. And so what happens is they think they're operating in that way. But what happens is they can only play that role for so long. And so then the real one, then they start being very against those philosophies and religious perspectives and all, and then they start saying like God make them an enemy because now all of a sudden you disagree with them. God ain't gonna try to hurt them. because now you know you
Right.
look at them.
Right.
It was an order. It was an
Absolutely.
order before you even existed. You
Exactly.
know, and that's why I
Exactly.
say it's the difference between a grown man,
Yes.
a boy,
That's right.
an adult male, and a man.
Yes.
There's so
Yes.
many differences. But when the
Mhm.
ladies and people have those functional relationships, they
Mhm.
speaking from their experience of peace. But we have so many
Exactly.
toxic relationships, and the majority of people are
Mhm.
coming from those relationships. And this is why I say
Yes.
social, spiritual, and clinical. People have
Yes.
these generational curses. People have these
Absolutely.
patterns of repetitions, and people have these
Right.
insanity cycles. And so they
Yes.
don't identify with
Yes.
stuff. And
Mhm.
so it's just like I had a program in Atlanta.
Mhm.
Um and it was so funny. I was telling the young man, I was teaching him how to do ties and everything, and how what a gentleman would say, what a gentleman would do, and how a gentleman would act. And so
Mhm.
I can always tell the kids who came out of, and you know, I'm always making up my terms. It's called the matriarch patriot. I mean, the matriarch household mentality. And
Yes.
so that means a person who's
Yeah.
brought up only in a matriarch society
It's right.
and in the immediate
Their
community.
moms, their grandmas,
Yeah.
people
And
like
so
that.
when I would tell the
Women
kids,
raising them.
yeah, and I say, hey, son,
Mhm.
because I'm thinking like, hey, son, don't want me to call you father, because I'm like nod the head.
Right.
And they were like, man, F him. I don't care nothing about him.
Wow.
And that's an indication. Because
Wow.
anybody who had a father and they respected him, a grandfather, whoever, they were like,
Yeah.
okay, okay, please. Because they know they handle
Yeah.
business. So, and then
Right.
I would see and say, I'm going to call you, but okay, okay, man, I don't want to come here tripping. But then I watch
Wow.
this. Then I would tell the kid, hey, son, you better sit down before I tell you father. Okay, okay, okay. Because he already know. Because anybody
Yes.
had that father, they know he could be short.
That's
You're going
right.
to have a reverence
That's
and
right.
respect and a fear. You
That's
say you
right.
shouldn't fear. Trust.
Yep.
Because it was this tall.
Absolutely.
But I'm telling you,
Yes.
in my eyes, he was this big.
Yeah.
You know, because you
That's
know.
true.
And it's certain behaviors, mannerisms, and words. And that's one thing I always tell ladies, watch out for those words. Because that's an
Mm.
indication of what you're getting. Because
That's
I
right.
always say if you have a man who's quoting mama on everything, that's letting you know.
Mhm.
And it's
Mhm.
not saying
Yep.
a single great mother is not doing a great job. But I'm gonna
Yeah.
tell you, when he says something, you can listen. Oh, my mama always say,
Mhm.
anybody hit me back. I say, you ever realize that your mama taught you to beat girls? Huh? That's why you don't have no education
Wow.
getting a lady. Because she's not really thinking that way. Because
Wow.
her brain, remember how the corpus callosum for males and females are different. One is
Yes.
about that.
Yes.
And so you don't even realize that.
That's true. Yes.
And
Wow,
so
that
it's
was
not
a good
saying that you,
analogy. Yes.
yeah, you, and so he'll sit there and don't have no reservation. So when the teacher asks that little
Mhm.
boy, who told you to hit
Yes.
your mom? I mean, hit that girl. My mom.
Right.
I didn't teach him. Figuratively, you
Yes.
did. You just didn't realize it.
Yes.
If you didn't break it down,
Mhm.
saying if it's a little boy,
Yeah.
defend yourself. A little girl, and you protect
Right.
your balls and tell authority. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yeah,
Hold them
that was some
hands
good
and let them
advice.
kick your balls.
Exactly.
Protect
That
them
was
little
some
boy because they're
good
gonna
advice.
kick,
That's
but don't
right.
hit.
That's
But
right.
if you don't
Yes.
separate and clarify those things, unbeknownst to their
Yeah.
mother, she's teaching the boy to hit girls.
Right.
So
That
you
is
have
so
to be
true.
clear. So it's a big difference in some things when it comes to
Right.
coming out of that matriarchal household mentality. And so,
Right.
man,
Mm.
we got a lot of compliments about the show. We dealt with our cultural issues. The brief talked about the TikTok and about a
Mhm.
person can only pretend for so long. And
That's right.
man, I love
Yes.
when you come, man. I wish
Thank
that sometimes we could do
you.
it a little longer, but I'm telling you, I thank you guys for showing up. And again, if there's anything that you know that has empowered you or gave you some insight, be sure to cash app at Suave R Walker. That's SUAVERWALKER. And before we close, Dr. Dwan, listen, let the people know how they can contact you, your books, and how they can get in contact with those books and purchase some of your great books.
Thank
Also,
you.
mention that spa.
Yes. Okay. I'm the owner of Lux, spelled Luxe Spa, Michelle, the French version, Mechle. That's in Conyers, Georgia. We do body contouring, facials, waxes, massages, the whole gamut. So it's a great spot. Very relaxing and peaceful. I'm Dwan, spelled Dwan. Abrams, like Stacey Abrams, same last name, Dwan Abrams. I'm on IG, Facebook, Twitter, all of that. My books, if you just go to Amazon or barnesandnoble.com and just put it in, or even Walmart.com. You can go ahead and just put in my name, and all of my book titles will come up. Some of the titles are like Divorcing the Devil, Married Strangers, My Mother's Child. Let's see, When the Fairy Tale Ends. Oh goodness, I can't. Divorcing the Devil and others. So it's a list, but I can't think of all of them at the moment. But just input that. I have my website, DwanAbrams.tv. And so, yeah, so that's how you can find me. Just remember the name, Dwan, Dwan Abrams. And all my social media and everything is the same.
Now,
thank you.
My last question: do you provide services for males?
Of course. We have the, let me see how to put this. We have the gentlemen's facials because men's skin need love too. We do the waxing for the men, you know, your chest, your back, the manzillion, like the female Brazilian wax. We do the manzillion wax. So I have a couple of estheticians that work there that take care of all of that kind of stuff. So yes, but we definitely pamper our fellas. And so we definitely would love to see the guys there. And we do nice aromatherapy massages and things of that nature, hot stone massages. So yes, in totally good hands.
So do they have the Suave Laxing soothing special?
Everything is soothing and relaxing. That's our whole thing.
Because I want to come and
fall asleep. You know? Yeah, they come in there and they fall asleep. Okay, yes. It's very rare that people don't fall asleep. It's like they fall asleep. I mean, we dim the lights. We've got the good ambiance, the good music playing low. You know, it smells good in there, and it's very attractive. You know, very nice decor.
Because I have it right here.
All right,
I got it right here.
Remember, yes.
And they said I can cash it in for Father's Day. I have it right here. I got it from somebody.
All right, I got you. You know the owner, so you're in good hands.
Yeah, in fact, I got a thing right here from the owner.
All right,
Y'all see this? I got it.
Yes, exactly. We would love to have you.
Thank you so much.
It's been my pleasure.
You, man. I really appreciate your insight, and I'm actually glad that we was able to go in another direction, because these are things that are so freaking interesting, and thinking about it, we wouldn't have ever got that. Whoever the Facebook used, I'm gonna use that.
Yeah, that Native African American.
Native African American.
Yeah,
man, that
really
is
good.
Powerful.
Yeah.
Thank you. I mean, listen, we need to. You guys need to propose that to our government. But anyway, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Again, this is another episode of Social Therapy with Dr. Brother Suave. Just remember, great minds reach great places. I love you. I mean it. Bye-bye.
Tune in and stream live now. Social Therapy with Dr. Brother Suave, the podcast, is now being broadcast on NPN Voice. NPN Voice can be found on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, SoundCloud, and now on Audible and Amazon Music, and anywhere you listen to your favorite podcast. Social Therapy with Dr. Brother Suave, the podcast, now on NPN Voice. NPN Voice. Got voice. You heard? was made possible by Neighborhood Planet Broadcasting Systems, Neighborhood Planet Network, and from contributions to NPNTv from viewers like you.